You look around me, technically, this is an event that was supposed to start in the last few minutes. And of course, it's empty. You've got empty chairs, stuff packed up in the corner, and signs just hanging on the wall. The only way you'd know that Nikki Haley was supposed to be here. They canceled this event just a few minutes ago.
Your brand, Nikki, your camp, whoever that's watching this, you guys come across as arrogant, conceited, elitist. And it's unattractive to a guy who loves America, who worked his ass off in America. You come across as elitist, arrogant, you're better than me, and I don't like it, period. If that's you and it's always been like you, it's unattractive. And I don't think I'm alone. I don't think I'm alone. I think there's other people that feel the same way as I do on the way you guys are. That's what I say.
All right, folks. So I know it's been a while since we've talked about Nikki Haley on this channel, but I also think it's irresponsible to completely ignore her, especially right before the Iowa caucus, because, you know, sometimes people come to me asking, Vince, what exactly is your beef with Nikki Haley? I get it. She's not your favorite candidate, but at the same time, aren't we all on the same team? Aren't we all trying to stop Biden at the end of the day? To which I say no. This woman is a dangerous Trojan horse to the conservative movement and everything that it stands for. There is nothing she will not sell us out to. She is a shill for the corporate establishment, for the military industrial complex, and simultaneously and kind of ironically at the same time, she always, for some reason, also wants to cave to the left. And so the moral of the story here is there is nothing she will not sell out the conservative movement to. That is why I think she is so dangerous. That is why she needs to be called out. And that is why we as Republican voters need to make it very clear. We do not want this woman anywhere near power. We don't want to see her as the presidential nominee. Obviously, she's not going to win that in 2024. But we also don't want to see her as the vice president. We don't want to see her get any job in a future cabinet. This absolutely cannot happen. And the sad reality is, as much as people like us try to call that out, it seems to me, at least we're being told, that Nikki Haley is fairly popular by her own standards. She is polling pretty well, actually coming close to DeSantis in a lot of these polls that you're seeing. And that's why I think it's so important that we try to make everyone aware of this stuff. Now, luckily, it seems that some of my suspicions about these alleged Nikki Haley poll numbers are coming to fruition, because she did an event, town hall, whatever, at a restaurant in Iowa earlier this morning. And just check it out for yourself. Long story short, nobody actually showed up. Okay, take a look here.
You look around me, technically, this is an event that was supposed to start in the last few minutes. And of course, it's empty. You've got empty chairs, stuff packed up in the corner, and signs just hanging on the wall. The only way you'd know that Nikki Haley was supposed to be here. They canceled this event just a few minutes ago.
So as you can see, there's like one person there, and they canceled the event because I assume someone in the pre-team called and said, hey, there's no one here. Let's make an excuse to cancel the event. So what that seems to show to me is something I've long suspected, which is that the support for Nikki Haley is completely astroturfed, right? In many ways, it's not real. She is heavily propped up by corporate media on both sides. It's not just Fox News. A lot of liberal mainstream media also kind of sells her as this great, amazing candidate because corporate media, of course, gets behind the corporate politician. But in many ways, the actual regular voters in Iowa, in New Hampshire, and a lot of these places don't really resonate with her. And why? Because that is not her base. That's not even who she's speaking to. She is speaking to the donors. She is speaking to the corporations, the military industrial complex, the sort of country club, suburban, wealthy Republicans who donate to the RNC and all that stuff, right? Her supporters are not you. And that's why I think, at least I hope, I don't know what's going to happen in the Iowa caucus, but I hope she's in for a rude awakening where she realizes actually real people do not support this woman. Patrick Bet David, I thought, had a very great take on all of this that I completely agree with here, which is kind of diagnosing what is the problem with Nikki? Why do we on a personal level find her so repulsive and revolting? And why does she come off as such an elitist? Well, the answer is because she is an elitist, but check out what he had to say about it. I think this is a great take and a great way to explain it to the average person, I suppose.
Your brand, Nikki, your camp, whoever that's watching this, you guys come across as arrogant, conceited, elitist.
Absolutely.
And it's unattractive to a guy who loves America, who worked his ass off in America. You come across as elitist, arrogant, you're better than me, and I don't like it. Period. If that's you and it's always been like you, it's unattractive. And
Absolutely.
I don't think I'm alone. I don't think I'm alone. I think there's other people that feel the same way as I do on the way you guys are. That's what I say. If it's her against Biden, it's not even a question, because what Biden's done to America the last 3 years is a shit show. So that's not even a conversation I would be having. I just don't.
That is one thing I will say I disagree with Patrick on. Love Patrick, but on the question of, if she was the nominee, would I automatically vote for her? I actually would say no. Okay, not that I would vote for Biden, obviously. I would write someone in, I would vote third party. But the way I look at it, and why I especially view her to be so dangerous, is I think in many ways, she is actually worse than Biden. I mean, think about that for a second. So on the issue of World War III, which I do think foreign policy should be an important conversation in 2024 because we're inching closer to that. Nikki Haley, I'm not saying Joe Biden's foreign policy is good, but I think Nikki Haley is significantly more likely to drag us into World War III than even Joe Biden is. Right. And again, that's not a defense of Biden. That's to say, I think Nikki is an even bigger warmonger. I actually think she's worse. And even on certain domestic issues, like I will show to you here in a second, Nikki Haley constantly always caves to the left. So I know people will bring up, what about social conservatism? What about this issue or that issue? Well, Nikki Haley's not a social conservative. And I would actually argue in many ways, it's worse to have her cave to the far left than to have Biden cave to the far left. Because if Nikki is the Republican president, she will, even if it's not true, she will sort of be seen as the representative of conservatism in America. And so if the conservatives significantly move to the left and there's basically no opposition to the far left, that actually enables the far left to push even further, right? That's kind of how the Overton window works of discussion of the ideas that are acceptable. You have the right side, you have the left side. And this is sort of acceptable dialogue. You go outside, you're seen as an extremist. Well, if the right side pushes significantly over to the left, then what is the left able to do? They're able to push far, far more left. And so I think on a domestic and a foreign level, she, in many ways, in my eyes, is more dangerous for this country than Joe Biden. That might be a hot take. I'm not going to go into all the reasons explaining that, but that's my stance on it. But I do agree with Patrick. She does come off as elitist, and a big reason is because she is an elitist. Like I said, she's not even speaking to ordinary, rural Republican voters when she talks. She again is speaking to the donors, to the wealthy people, and occasionally maybe some liberal leaning suburban woman she thinks she can win over with her girl boss act. Newsflash, I don't think it's going to work, but this is all true. All right, listen to him keep talking here.
Don't listen, with my kids, if my kids give a sign, we went out to dinner the other day, a relative that doesn't live with us. Okay, this was 2 months ago. Jen will remember this. This relative that we see once every other year or something like that. And we take him out to a nice dinner. This relative goes like this. Excuse me. Oh, my God.
Oh, no. To the server?
Adam. The waiter looks at me and is so polite and gentle and kind to the person because that's with me. And the waiter leaves. My kids are sitting at the table. If you already know how I feel right now, you have no idea how I feel. Just telling you the story right now, my body's in pain.
I can tell.
So the waiter leaves. I look at the person and I look at my kids and I say, listen, never for the rest of our lives do we go like this to a person that's working to make the food better for us. We don't ever talk like that again. And I looked at the person and I said, we don't do that. I don't know if you do that. We don't do that kind of stuff.
You called them out right there and then?
In front of my dad, in front of Jen, in front of everybody. And this is a person we love and it's a relative. I said, we don't do stuff like this. And I said, Tico Dillon, I swear to God, if you ever behave like that in front of me, you don't even know what would happen if you behave like that in front of me. We don't do stuff like this. Then I got up and I walked past to the waiter and I said, hey, just want to let you know, this is my table. It represents me. We don't talk like that to people. Makes sense. Respect. I give him a 50% tip so he understands that the respect that we got for them. She gives me the vibes of this.
Ooh, absolutely.
I don't like that vibe.
Now it makes sense.
And to me, I don't roll like that. You got to give people respect. I'm a voter. Everybody else is a voter. When a person So why do people love Joe?
Absolutely right. That is the vibe that Nikki Haley gives off. She thinks she's entitled to this. And you see that, right? When Vivek goes after her, when Vivek calls her out for being a corporate shill and a flip-flopper and a warmonger who wants to send your kids to die in war, what does she respond with? You just have a woman problem. Hey, I'm going to quote Margaret Thatcher and insult the entire male species in my response to this. She thinks she's entitled to this. She thinks she's better than everyone. She comes off as sanctimonious and elitist. And I guarantee you deep down, that's probably how she is in her private life. It's all very true. It's all very true. Spot on. Interesting example, right? Not the type I would use. But when you think about it like that, it's completely on the money.
Why do people love Dana? Think about the people why do people love Elon?
Because they're authentic, they're real.
But they have the ability to be an asshole to you.
Yep. Yes.
They have the ability to be like this. And they're like, hey, how you doing?
Yep.
Well, wait a minute. Who are you? You just because you're on a debate stage and you went and sat on the board and you got a few $1 million from Boeing? This is what you want to do? Nah, man, that's not what. The last thing we need in America right now is this kind of a mindset. We need a mindset. How you doing? So what's on your mind? What do you think? What's going on?
What you doing?
That's what we need in America today. We don't need any of this stuff unless if you're dancing. If you're dancing, go like this all day. I don't care if you want to do it at a Persian wedding all day long. Do it.
And I'll add to that and amplify.
Again, I think that is completely spot on. It's good to see. Look, I think every conservative commentator needs to, on some level, use their platform to call her out. Okay, because obviously she is getting an audience. Fox News will not push back on her. I think it's the job of the ordinary grassroots conservative media to push back on her. Anyways, with that said, what's good in the news, at least recently, is that it seems like her campaign is completely falling apart. Okay, and I will show you the examples of this. And I think I'll actually have lined up here basically all the examples of the things I was talking about. But check out what she said recently in an interview with PBS, which, I kind of noticed that, right? And by the way, Patrick Bet David pointed this out too. Notice how she never does podcasts. Notice how she doesn't do interviews where people would actually, in unedited segments, push back on her, call her out, ask her the tough questions. She only does interviews with the corporate media. What does that tell you about her as a candidate? She doesn't care about the grassroots. She's not a grassroots candidate. She only wants to do things that are scripted. But check out this quote here where she basically admits the exact things we've been saying about her. She says, the structure of the primaries is really amazing. Iowa starts it. You change personalities and then you go into New Hampshire. So she admits, okay, that she's a flip-flopping politician. She's not real. It's kind of a Freudian slip in many ways here. Take a listen to what she says.
But look, the structure of it is really pretty amazing. That Iowa starts it. You change personalities, you go into New Hampshire, and they continue it on. And by the time it gets to South Carolina, it gets bigger going into Super Tuesday. There's something very cool about the process.
Did you catch that? You change personalities? Now, look, I get what she's saying. Let me start here. The way she said that in itself just sounded incredibly dumb. It's like, yes, Nikki, that's the way the primary process works. Yes, it does indeed go from Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina. Okay. She's like, yeah, there's something really cool about that. It didn't sound very intelligent. All around, everything she said there was just dumb. Okay. It was like, wow, did you know this is how the primary system works? Isn't that so fascinating? Sounds like a low IQ. Okay. Sounds like a bird brain, but that's besides the point. Notice the point she kind of slipped through there, right? She changes personalities. And in her defense, I do kind of understand what she is saying, right? It's like, hey, you kind of want to campaign a little differently. The people of Iowa, the people of New Hampshire, the people of South Carolina are different. But the way she said that, again, basically verifies the point, which is she's not real. She is the epitome of a slimy fake politician, and that's all she is. And she sort of admitted that on accident, right? She sort of let that one slip there. So, yeah. Anyways, she also did a town hall recently where she doubled down on her point she made in the first debate. Remember in the first debate, she said this exact statement. I may get a few words wrong, but this is basically what she said. She said, you want something said, ask a man. You want something done, ask a woman. right? So she was basically saying all these male candidates on the stage don't know what they're talking about. You need a woman to lead because women actually get things done. To which, let me just say this. That's not the general rule of human history, of world history. Okay. I actually found it kind of insulting as a man. First of all, you're attacking male voters. You're saying we don't get anything done. I don't see why I, as a man, shouldn't find that sexist and insulting, shouldn't find that, degrading to me as a man, especially when this is the same woman who turns around and calls anyone sexist, like Vivek, calls anyone sexist that she disagrees with. But anyways, she doubled down on that, saying, is America ready for a female president? You bet. And I'm going to be the one to make them proud. Yeah, I'm sure you are, Nikki. Here's what's very ironic about that. She said this on January 4th, 2024. Check out December 25th, 2023. Notice what she told the New York Times, basically just hours or days, I should say, before that. She says, Nikki Haley wants to run on her record, not on her gender. Oh yeah, is that what she's doing? Okay, you contrast that again. It only took a couple of days for her to completely flip-flop on that. Well, that's the story of her life in many ways. But yeah, this is Nikki Haley, right? She's going to use the actual left-wing tactic of playing into identity politics, this whole game, because also in many ways, she caves to the left. All right? So we've established that. But check out what she also recently said here about illegal immigration. Check this out.
But let's keep in mind, these people that are wanting to come here, they want to come for a better life too. They have kids too. They have a heart too. So we don't need to be disrespectful. We don't need to talk about them as criminals. They're not. They're families that want a better life, and they're desperate to get here.
We don't need to, by the way, again, she's talking about illegal immigration. That's pretty clear. We don't need to refer to them as criminals. We don't need to be disrespectful. Again, about the people who are flooding our border. Okay? Now, I do understand sort of the point, which is like, hey, a lot of these people, it's not their fault our border is open. They're just coming here for a better life. But that doesn't actually change the fact that actually, Nikki, they are criminals because it's a crime to illegally cross the border. And when you say we need to have compassion, we don't need to be disrespectful towards those people. This is the problem actually with Nikki Haley's entire presidency, which is whenever it comes to the left or the things they're trying to do to fundamentally destroy this country, right? The illegal immigration crisis is destroying our country. George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter riots of 2020 did a lot to destroy our country. And by the way, she caved to BLM back then too. So this is a running pattern with her. She responds by saying, we need to have compassion. Oh yeah, Nikki. Well, first of all, we're not going to back off of calling illegal immigrants criminals because it's simply the truth. Okay. They are. And I know, maybe they have hard lives. I'm open to that idea. It's also not America's duty to take these people in. And we also need to protect our own border. And we have no moral obligation to be the world's charity or home for refugee resettlement for the entire globe. Okay. So I totally reject that. But furthermore, what it's going to take is a candidate who's going to get this country back on the right track. We are not going to get there by refusing to tell the truth. And that's what Nikki Haley does. She refuses to tell the truth. She caves. She says it's disrespectful. We don't need to be disrespectful. Totally, again, disagree. But to conclude all this discussion, what does it really show about Nikki? Okay, I would argue, let's talk about that illegal immigration point, for instance. I think it really shows two things. A, she, under this false guise of compassion, will simply cave to the left. When all the conservatives are trying to get real about this border crisis, what does she say? She says, we don't need to be calling them criminals, guys. I think that's a little mean. Well, you know what I think lacks compassion, Nikki? I think what lacks compassion is not caring about the millions of Americans whose life is becoming worse because our country is being overrun by the flood of illegal immigration. That's point number one. Point number two, though, people need to understand this as well. There's an underlying point in the reason she talks about illegal immigration like this, which is she's bought out by the corporations. That's a known fact. Look at the record there. We talk about the defense contracting, for instance. You know, she literally sat on the board of Boeing and made herself wealthy off of that when she started off bankrupt after she left the Trump White House. So that's not a conspiracy on my part that she's bought out by the defense industry. She literally is. But she's bought out by all the corporations. And hence, that actually makes sense why she would have a very liberal take on immigration. Because when we talk about mass immigration, yes, the left wing supports mass immigration because it destabilizes society. They want to do that. And it gives them a bunch of new voters and political supporters. They want to do that. But also, the other side of this is that the corporations support mass immigration because it gives them cheap labor, right? You can undercut the American labor market by flooding in with a bunch of people. She's bought out by those corporations. So I guess it all makes sense, right? It makes sense why she's such a warmonger, bought out by the defense industry. It makes sense why she is so liberal on immigration and trade and things like that. Again, why? Because she is bought out also by the Koch brothers and all this stuff. And so I turn around and ask any Republican voter who is behind this woman, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? Okay, because she's not a conservative fighter who's going to stand up to the left. She caves to the left given any opportunity. She doesn't support you either. Okay, she's an elitist who's bought out by the corporate interest in this country. I don't understand it at all. Okay, so we'll see how the Iowa caucus, which is about a week away, actually goes for her. You know, I'm really hoping she just gets demolished in it, and this is the last we hear of her. Again, I don't know what's going to happen. But let it be said, I do not support this woman. I never will. I never will support her in her life coming close to power. That's just the fact of the matter. Okay? That's the fact of the matter. With that said, folks, let me know your thoughts on all of this stuff down in the comment section below. Do you think Nikki Haley's campaign is imploding? Do you agree with my assessment of her? Let me know. And until next time, be sure to leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. Alpha moves only. God bless. Have a very good day. Peace.